All right, so over the past 2 years, I've made over $1 million doing e-commerce and dropshipping and actually branding stores and building e-commerce brands now. So I've talked a lot about how to actually build your store, what tools to use on Shopify, how much I've actually made. I've showed numbers, but I've actually never given you my story of how I got here and my actual entrepreneurial journey. So that's what I'm going to do. But before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Give this video a thumbs up. And as always, leave me a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you think. So, first off, welcome to the new setup here. This is the new e-commerce YouTube Brandon Gansky setup. All right, let's just dive into it. So, like I've said, I have built an e-commerce brand that has done over $1 million in revenue over the past 2 years. So to get here, let's go back to 2012, like the beginning of 2012. And let's go before that. So I knew that I always wanted to be a business owner and I wanted to have like brands and I wanted to do something creative and I always wanted to be my own boss. I knew that like working for other people was just not like my favorite thing to do. So I set out at a young age to try to make this happen. So back in 2012, let's go back to there. I thought of an idea of coming up with a brand of t-shirts that were made from organic cotton, specifically bamboo. So I went online and I searched like bamboo made t-shirts and I found some blanks that were made out of bamboo and I purchased them. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna resell these and maybe even sell them to like screen printers or whatever. But I'm gonna make a business around this. I was like, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. And so I did it. I ordered these t-shirts, and when they came in, I cut the tags out of the top and up here, and I resewed them together, and then I went down to Staples because I was like, I can't, like, what do I do for tags? I can't like order tags or whatever. Like it was like a minimum order of like 1,000 pieces to just get custom tags. So I went down to Staples and I bought a heat transfer from an inkjet printer. So basically, I just printed this logo that I had made and the size and put it on a little heat transfer and I ironed them on. I had like maybe 30 shirts. So I was like, this is cool. This is a good start. It's branded, it has everything that I need. And so I put this logo on a website and I was like, okay, so I'm going to sell some on here. Maybe I'm going to explain my brand a little bit on the website. It was actually called Mosa, from what I remember. And I held on to these t-shirts for 3 years and I never sold any of them. It actually failed.
You were this close and you blew it.
And that was like the first time that I realized that, like, oh shoot, like, this is no joke. Like, there's a lot of marketing and a lot of stuff that they actually have to go into actually building a business and a brand. So I kind of put that on the back burner, this organic t-shirt line, in this midst of 2013, 2012, I mean. So then nearing the end of 2012, I decided it would be a good idea to open a storefront because I couldn't sell these t-shirts because I didn't have a medium to sell them and I didn't know how to get them to the customers. So I was like, well, let's open a storefront and let's hopefully sell some t-shirts in this storefront. So I was walking through my local mall and I saw that the store was closing and I was like, wow, that's perfect. I want that space for a store. So I remember I got my haircut and I was asking like the haircut lady, like, hey, like, is that store closing? She's like, oh yeah, they're going out of business, yada, yada, yada. And so I shot an email off the next morning to the owners of this mall property. And I said, hey, like, I want to open this business and I want this storefront. How much is it a month? Yeah, and just basically had no idea what I was doing. And they wrote me back maybe 3 weeks later. And they were like, oh yeah, like, this is the rates for it. This is what needs to be done. And this is how much you need to put into it to make this storefront to like be part of the mall. So I was like, okay, cool. So I remember I had no money. Okay, I didn't come from money. I didn't have a trust fund or a big bank account. I was literally a busboy at a restaurant. And was saving all my money to build this store. And I signed my lease on this business after I had been gambling the night before with some friends at the casino, and I spent like maybe $15, but I actually won $500.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner!
And that was the exact amount that I needed to put down on the deposit for the store the next day. So I was like, this is fate. Like I'm going to make it. Like the universe is telling me that this is going to be my winning time. And so I went in there and signed the lease, and I told them like, okay, yeah. They're like, so what kind of stuff are you gonna sell? I was like, oh, like t-shirts and like streetwear stuff. They're like, oh, cool. There was like a Zoomies in the mall, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna have to do something like Zoomies and like a PacSun, like a mixture. And I literally, when I signed the lease, I had no idea what I was going to put in the store. I just knew what I was going to call it. I was going to call it Royal Laundry. And so I went in there and went into the space, and it was like this, like, it was like a maternity store before that had closed down. And so there was like brown and blue polka dots on the walls. And I was like, wow, like I'm going to have to redo this space, make it my own. I need signs. And like, this was when the reality like hit me. Like I need all this stuff to actually build the storefront. So I worked extra shifts as a busboy, and I ended up being able to buy a sign, and I got some paint to put on the walls, and I cleaned it up a little bit, and I made it work out. But I was missing one thing. I was missing inventory because I had no idea what I was going to sell. So I had like 2 months between the time I signed the lease to when they wanted me to open. It was like March to May that I had to figure out how to actually what I was going to sell and how I was going to make the store look. So I went on Urban Outfitters and like all these like random like sales website or store websites, and I was like looking at brands. I started contacting these brands of like wholesale, like questioning their wholesale because like my 13 t-shirts of the organic bamboo t-shirts were not going to cut it. And I told them that I needed to buy this product, but I couldn't pay for it up front, and I needed to net 30 it. And so I don't know how this happened, but a bunch of these brands ended up net 30ing me like $1,500 of clothing a piece at wholesale pricing with like very limited business plans or like literally no sales history. I don't know. So I had all this inventory coming. I think it was like $15,000 worth of inventory, and I thought it was so much. I was like, $15,000? I'd never seen $15,000 in my life.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm not poor!
And all this inventory was coming, but I didn't really own it. I owed all this money back on it, but I was like, okay, I'll just sell it. It'll all sell in 30 days, and I'll pay it, and I'll just do that again. And then I'll just start doing that until I catch up. Well, as you can like understand, it probably didn't work out that way. So I ended up having all this inventory, and I opened the store, but I was also missing another major point in running a business, and I didn't have any other employees besides myself and a friend. And both of us, we were going to work literally open to close every day of the week because the mall's open every day. Because I didn't have anybody else to work, so I had to do it. I literally did open to close on my store for like 2 months straight until I hired somebody else to come in and like work on the sales floor. And I remember I hired my first employee. I hacked her from another store in the mall, and I was like, hey, like come work for me. Like I literally had no better offer, but just to like charm her with like my kind spirit and be like, hey, come work for me. So I brought her in, and I ended up failing. I mean, I ended up like not having enough money to continue. And this was like 3 months in, but I still had a lease. So I ended up finding an angel investor, and like on the whim, because I had an opportunity to open a second store because this mall franchise wanted me to move into another mall in the state next to us. So I was like, I want to do this because I think I can make all this money back that I owe on these net 30s that are now matured like 180 days. So I ended up getting an angel to come in and give me $60,000. I charmed $60,000 out of him to grow this business into a second location in the first year and then buy inventory and pay off my debts. So I did this and I had two locations. This was holiday season of 2013. I had two locations and I had a full staff, and all it really took was that $60,000, right? Holidays were great. We made so much money on Black Friday, and I think I made like maybe $20,000 on that day between the two stores, and I was like in heaven. I was like, wow, like I won the lottery. Like this is truthfully, I've made it. Like I'm a business owner. And then sales slowed down the next year because malls were dying, and I didn't have the brains in me to go e-com at this time. So I needed more money because I was out of money. But now I had like all this expenses on top of me. I had two locations and employees, and I needed inventory and marketing budget. And so this angel ended up giving me another $30,000. So we got inventory, we're squared away. I was able to float that by for this next year until the next holiday season. And then I ended up needing more money from this angel. So he's like, this is the last time. Like, okay, we're like, this is your. I ended up taking like more than $100,000 from him. And I told him, like, what do I need to do to make this successful? So he told me, like, you need to close down that first location because it's sucking money out of you. So I did it. I closed it down after holidays of 2014. This was the second holiday season. So almost 2 years that storefront made it. I still had the second store that I let go until the next year in August. And I completely fell on my face, right? I had all this credit card debt. I had literally just like exhausted myself of being a retail business owner, and I ended up having both of my businesses. I had to give them up because like I just couldn't continue anymore. I had all this debt and I had personal guarantees on me, and it was a really bad mess. So this was in 2015. So fast forward, I was like, okay, kind of freaked out from the entrepreneurial stuff, but I was like, I still had that craving. I was like, I want to do something else. Like I want to figure out another business. Well, in the meantime, I ended up getting signed with a big modeling agency in Los Angeles. And I like was started like getting like super fit and like just like really diving into this like world of modeling and like this like superficial world of like Hollywood. And it was great. I did that in 2016, 2017, and it was like one of the best experiences in my life. Like I met so many great people. I learned a lot about like the industry of like streetwear and apparel and business really, because like being a model is like basically running your own business. So I had that fulfillment of like of running that business and being that entrepreneur and that creative aspect. So then I ended up getting dropped by my agency in 2017, and boom, another one. Like that was another hit to me. Like I felt like I'd been doing this since 2014, and like I had like there was these statistics that like a business owner will make it from like for 2 years or like 3 years or something. And I thought that was like a fact, and I was like, oh my god, I've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years now, and like I'm still like broke. Like this sucks. And so then I ended up in that meantime, like just my personal life and like just doing me from 2017 to end of 2017 to August 2018. Well, beginning 2018, I had come up with this idea um to do e-commerce and dropshipping. I was like, well, I'm going to create a website like Wish. And I remember it was like Snatched or something. And in 2018, I had like 5 different e-commerce stores that completely failed. And because I had no idea what I was doing. I'm coming from a space of modeling and a space of physical retail. I still have all this debt, by the way. And so I need business because I need to start paying this stuff down because I have a lot of stuff going on. So I come back and I start my drop shipping and an e-commerce store, and within the first couple of months I'd made like $50,000 in revenue. So I was like, I need to brand this store and I need to come up with a good idea to make this a long-term business as opposed to just a short-term venture. So I took my dropshipping store, I bought my inventory, I had it shipped to my house, and I turned my living room and my garage and every inch of my house into a fulfillment / creative studio for my e-commerce businesses. So over the course of 2019 to 2020, I had taken on a lot of merchant cash advances and Shopify capitals and all of these quick term loans to pay off previous debts and grow my business. That like literally my entrepreneurial journey is just now starting to like turn over and show a leaf. And I've been doing this since 2012. So we're almost 9 years in, and I am just now getting traction on my actual businesses and becoming a business owner and an entrepreneur. And like I used all of that time like building my e-commerce stores and doing my retail stores and like modeling and all this time just like really like teaching myself like little skills. Every single day I've learned a skill that I know is putting me in a position to do the next best thing or take my businesses to the next level. And honestly, like e-commerce is the way to go right now. Like this is, especially with COVID, and like this is the wave of the future. Everything is going to be automated and your business needs to be automated too. So get on the train or find something that you're passionate about and don't give up on it. Like honestly, like this is my little pep talk for a minute. Like don't feel like if it's not working out, like it's the end of the world, because honestly, a failure is definitely in business. A failure is not a failure, because if you learned one thing, then that whole journey was so worth it. Like even though I failed multiple times, I have failed stores, I have failed literal businesses, and even though it's put me in positions of like just being like dead ass broke, I feel like I have learned so much from each journey that it's so worth it. And my next step will put me in a position to start clearing out my past steps. And that's literally how I live my whole life. So I don't really let my failures affect me. And like, I know that I'm going to do a business and I'm going to fail again. And I know that there's going to be more failures in my future, but I also know that my chances of succeeding are slowly getting higher and higher and higher and higher because I have the previous knowledge of what not to do. So if you have a business or you have an idea, and pursue it, don't give up on anything. Like if you have a dream, don't give up on it. You'll regret that and you'll kick yourself later. On the hardest day, just like remember, like you're going to look back on that hard day and be like, wow, like that day taught me something, and that is something that I needed to learn. So now that you know my story and why I feel like I am justified to sit here on YouTube and tell you how to run a business or give you advice on running your e-commerce store, this is my journey, and that is why I feel like I can give you guys the knowledge and my tips that I give you. So until next time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, leave me a comment down in the comment section below. I'll see you guys later.